Hello. I was asked to go over the fuel tank instructions for my replacement fuel tanks from Saammodels. And since I last did step 10, the actual resin printed parts has changed just a little bit. So I thought I'd throw this out there real quick. So this is the part from Trumpeter or Hobby Boss that I did back in step 10. The instructions are down here. The basic deal is that they screwed up the placement of where the fuel tank or fuel cap goes versus on the real thing, and there are a few missing parts. So I went in and created a replacement piece, 3D printed it. Did this quite a while ago. But since then, I have been selling these, and just last week I went to print these off, and my file was either corrupted or things have changed enough since I made this that they just wouldn't print, so I had to redo the supports and everything. So since that's changed a little bit, I thought I'd go over a couple of things. One, there is now a hole on either end of the not the casting but the printing. You can fill this real quick with spare sprue or whatever you have to plug the hole. I'm not including little resin plugs just because they're just little pieces of resin that'll be floating around. I absolutely could if people really wanted me to, but I think that you could take anything, including just taking some of the spare sprue that comes with the kit, like right here, nip that off, and see how there are nubs on the end. There's this right here. You could just quickly chisel it down, or just take that nub and stuff it in there, glue it in, let it super glue for a little bit, and file it flat. It's that simple, I guess, so that's why I'm not including it. Now, with these prints, even the way that they're printed, there's a tiny bit of bulging, so I would suggest putting some sandpaper on a flat piece of wood and just sanding it down so it's all nice and flush. Should be simple and easy. I've had no problems. This side has all the dimples from the supports, so this one's going to take a little bit more sanding work. I have done it on something as simple as a foam block, just like so. And that gets a lot of it off right away. If you're really concerned about it having the flat, straight edges, use a block of wood with a piece of sandpaper on it, or a file, a large file, something like that. That'll get rid of those dimples. And then in the casting process, there are a line of dimples on these back sides here. Go through with a file. Where did I put my file? There it is. Just take a regular file and carefully just go through and sand them off. Now, I'm not completely removing them here, but the important thing about this is that any work that needs to be done on these resin parts, sand. If you try to drill, or you try to use a knife and cut or chip, you can chip the resin, you can break the resin, you can cause fractures, just all kinds of craziness. I think that's because this resin printing industry is still somewhat in its infancy. And yeah, a lot of the resin is really brittle. And then the next part would be to take the photo etch. In this case, for the large tank, it's MC14, and insert it. Now, because of the vagaries of printing and designing and all that, I found that in this case, this one was just the resin was just a touch too tight. I've had ones printed from this file previously, came out perfect. So again, all you need to do is go in there and just sand it down. If it's just a little too narrow, with the file, it sands really nice. That's what I'll say about the resin. For the fact that it may be brittle, hit sands very, very nice. So I just went in, sanded that down, slides right in, no problem. With the small tank, it's the same problem again. The fuel tank is at the wrong spot. Now, if you look at this, I actually went through and moved the fuel tank previously, and I still messed it up. I cut it off and reinserted it. So this is in the right spot. Looks exactly like what's on the real thing. Again, the dimples on this side and on the back side. And I did that on purpose so that this is going to be super easy to sand down. And let's say you missed this or forgot about it or whatever. When you put it on the vehicle, it's on the back side. It's not going to be as noticeable, just in case. And then in this case, these are parts MC2. And if I can keep my hands on them, they just drop in as well. Now, like I said, this one didn't have to do any sanding at all, just fell right on. And these have to be super glued on. Why am I not doing it? Well, these parts are not the parts that are going to be for this particular build, but I wanted to show the more up-to-date part issues. So anyways, that's it. You put the other two on, no problems at all. So once you've got those photo etch parts on and you've got these cleaned up, all it basically is, just like before, is you just slide them in. Boom, that's it. Now you want to have the mount brackets in what are essentially the strap guides, and there's no positive alignment. There we go. No positive alignment for the wheel or the steps, so you have to go through and kind of eyeball that one. But once it's in, I mean, it's that simple. It just goes right in. Double check and make sure everything looks good. And I think at some point, if necessary, I will do a little bit of refinement of these resin tanks. I don't know. And another point is that you don't have to have these completely flat on the resin, because they do have a little bit of a bulge on these plastic parts. So you're not going to throw anything off by having them slightly bulged on either end. Any questions, please leave them in the comment. Hope this helps.